Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the L.U.M podcast. I'm Luke.
I'm Mike.
Welcome back. Listen up, motherfuckers.
Damn right.
So, talking a little bit about some of the things that are going on this week. Zoran Mamdani created is beginning to levy a tax on the super rich. We're also going to talk about rich people and billionaires, but first we want to talk about the photo of Donald Trump as Jesus. Yes.
I'm not even going to put one up. We already know what it looks like. We don't need the slop anymore.
Yes.
You know?
So first of all, fuck AI slop. Most of it's really, really bad. And it's let humans be funny. How about that? Christians in particular, Catholics, are very, very offended. And I can understand why. That is straight up run-of-the-mill blasphemy.
Well, let's be clear. It's the normal, what we would consider everyday American Christians. You talk to an evangelical, or you talk to the kind of Christian that gets their religion through Fox News. They're all still on board.
I think a lot of them are still flipping out. Megyn Kelly was flipping out about it.
She's not one of them. She's different.
There are a lot of MAGA or conservative MAGA adjacent Christians who are now, that is the straw that broke their back. And
the online right, they're flipping out.
The question is, how did you not know he was a blaspheming charlatan when he stole from all of the businesses that he worked with and they told you before the first election? How was the comment, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists? How is that not enough for you Christians?
How was the very long history of him not paying any of the people that he contracted to do any of the work that he ever had them do across multiple states?
Yes, he is a liar, a cheat, and a thief. How was it not enough when he was stealing from his own charities? How was it not enough when he mocked a reporter with a physical disability? Y'all explained that away really, really sick in a sick way. How was that not enough? How was it not enough when he said you can grab women by the pussy? How was it not enough when he went on Howard Stern and said, I walk in on the underage girls who are in the middle of changing? How is that not enough? Now an AI picture of him robed up as your Lord is what did it?
How about the same Howard Stern show? He talked about how if he wasn't the father of Ivanka, he would have married her, or at least, or the idea that he talked about John McCain as a loser because he was captured during the Vietnam War
and had both of his shoulders broken because of the torture they did.
I don't consider people like that a winner. They're not winners. They're not winners to me.
Fuck off, you bone spur cocksucker. At least he served. And don't get me wrong, I ain't serving because I don't trust the government to be responsible with my life. But he did. And I agree with him on just about nothing.
Real quick side note, by the way, just so everybody knows, if you want any idea of how desperate the U.S. government is for people to join the military, they army up the recruitment age for enlisted up to 42. 42 is roughly around the age where we saw the largest surge of people post 9/11. So they're trying to get all the people that are too stupid to they even think are even desperate. Well, it's like, do you think these people are in shape? None of these people are in shape. I definitely would not meet requirements to join the military, and I'm 42 right now. But I served 4 years. But that's how desperate they are.
Mm-hmm. And again, the abject cruelty and the actions, the power that he has displayed in insulting everyone of our allies, mocking women, saying that Charlottesville had good people on both sides, very fine people on both sides. How did that not become the impetus for you to walk away or to say, I'm done? I really don't get it.
Mocking a gold star family.
I'm not, and again, I'm a mixed guy. So I am not privy to a lot of the.
When did that happen?
I don't know. It's paler in the winter time.
Yeah.
But, and I don't go out because, geez, it's just a fucking.
We've been trapped in this.
Out there.
We've been trapped in here the whole damn time.
Yeah. Stone dungeon.
Yeah.
But I guess, why was none of that enough? Why did it take this? How are you okay with everything else? And I was having a discussion online with some people who are white, and they mentioned the number of closet racists in this country, where I don't want to vote for Kamala because we didn't have a proper primary, or because her laugh is weird, or because of this or that, or because of what she did when she was AG of of California.
I didn't like her because she didn't have a penis. All right. That's the real reason for
And
a lot of
some
these
people said that the number of people that gave that excuse out front, but when they were behind closed doors and they felt comfortable to unzip and show who they really were, it was because they were black. And if you're a white person, I want to know in the comments, please let me know, what do you think the percentage is? How many people decided they didn't want to vote for Kamala because of racial reasons, but said that it was for something legitimate? I just need to know how badly I'm being lied to and how badly we're getting, how big a mug we are as progressives. They'd call us that in England. So I guess we don't really need to belabor it because it's everywhere and the fallout will be there. I think it's demonstrative of the fact that his brain is turning into cold oatmeal.
And also, it slides right into his whole feud with the Pope right now too.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as popes go, this one seems all right. I'll forgive the fact that he's from Chicago. We're from Milwaukee, and so automatically 2 strikes against anybody from Chicago. But this one is really appearing to walk the walk and talk the talk, and I appreciate that as a former Catholic. I'm no fan of the Catholic Church, but he's talking about the peacemakers, and he's pissing off the warmongers, and so for that, I say, Your Holiness, thank you, and keep it up. Don't let these assholes bully you out of your domain, which is morality and theology. I think J.D. Vance is showing his true Catholicism by saying that the Pope needs to watch what he says when he starts talking about theology.
I think it's even funnier that J.D. Vance is a recent convert. He hasn't even raised it. You converted to Catholicism.
He will sell himself and spread those hairy couch fucking legs for anybody who has
mascara
enough
streaming
money
down his rejected cross-dressing ass. Not to shame a cross-dresser.
Oh yeah, the blonde. We'll get a photo up there. Yeah. Yes, and that's the thing is that I cross-dressed in high school. We had dressed the opposite day. Whatever. I gave myself some nice big tits and walked around in a beautiful silk pink dress. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to oppose and oppress trans people and people who are cross-dressing or working in drag, anything like that, then we have every right and duty to nail your ass to the wall for your hypocrisy, you bad eyeliner, slimy, punchable cocksucker.
I'm waiting for him to be sponsored by Sephora. That's what I'm waiting for.
Vomit. Yes. So, again, Christians, if this isn't you, you have a lot of people who claim to be on your team who are behaving like this. If it were me, I would start going after them because I wouldn't want to be lumped in with them.
And we are seeing that. We're seeing a lot of people on the religious right are just up in arms. This is the last straw. They've done a lot of talks to the voter base that are like the ones showing up at the gas pumps. And they're just like, I'm embarrassed. I'm insulted. This has been a direct insult on my faith.
Yes. I would have been more insulted by the tremendous cuts to USAID, which resulted in, what was it? 6 million deaths already. Yeah, many, or 600. It was just 6. It was hundreds of thousands.
Estimation of a large amount of deaths
from the diseases that we're not curing anymore, and the clean water that we're not providing, stuff like that. We had a big argument or debate about soft versus hard power. This is a perfect example of American soft power that we fucking abandoned. We left money on the table and gave it to the Chinese. And again, I said this in Africa and in other countries. They say when the United States shows up, we get a lecture. When China shows up, we get 2 hospitals and a couple of roads. We are so rich. We could be buying goodwill at such a fucking bargain. It's such a bargain. It's so stupid that we are allowing this many unforced errors.
Our corporations thought it was a good idea to ship off all of our labor for like needs to other countries because it was cheaper. You don't think that there's a correlation to that cost on the dollar in other nations? Anybody who served and been deployed or did like tours across different parts of the globe know that when you show up with an American dollar, you walk out of that bank and people flock to you. I had children chasing me and my shipmates down in India, asking us for money, willing to rob us.
I had that happen. My dad actually had that happen. He was in Vietnam.
And in Thailand when it almost happened.
13-year-old kids who robbed him of his stole his wallet and his watch. I was in Thailand. It was a family trip for vacation. My family is big on traveling and quality time. We don't do other things too often. But in Thailand, it was 40 baht to the dollar. And so I felt bad haggling with people, but that's their culture.
The dichotomy of our lives. I went to Thailand to get away from my family.
It would have been a different experience if I left my family. I would have gone south into like Bangkok and Phuket and etc. But we went on a lovely elephant and temple tour. Almost fell off an elephant down a mountain. 0 stars. Do not recommend.
I went to Phuket and I got to pet a tiger, and not in the way that they presented at the zoo, because they would strap the tiger down in shackles, and I was not about that one.
I went to a nice elephant hospital. It was the first elephant hospital because I'm gonna digress a little bit. On the border of Thailand and Myanmar, there's a shitload of minefields, and elephants are used to harvest teak wood because it makes some of the best furniture in the world. And they step on mines and they blow their feet off. War is a failure in every possible way. Sometimes it's needed, but so anyway, these elephants have their feet blown the fuck off, and it happened in such record numbers that they created a hospital where they rehab these elephants. They fund themselves by doing paintings by the elephants. The elephants play soccer, football, and so there's a lot of that sort of stuff. But it is a magical thing. Thailand is a wonderful, magical place that is now really getting into the cannabis, or gotten into the cannabis and legal prostitution markets. Cannabis, go for it. Legal prostitution, be safe.
Everything good as long as you don't insult their king. Everything's good.
Goddamn right. Yep. Yeah. We were talking about the dollar, and we were talking about labor, and I think this is a good opportunity to talk about some of the things that are happening involving labor. There are a lot of fires and attacks that are happening. 19 so far as I see. Not all of them are directly related to the first one. They're calling it potentially the Alpha Fire, the Kimberly-Clark fire, the paper fire, the one where the dude was in a Kimberly-Clark factory and said, all you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. And if you weren't going to do that, at least you shouldn't have paid us so little that we did this. Yeah. Not all of these fires are for arson and reasons. However, enough of them are that a conversation is being sparked, and people are talking about the revolution. Some people are talking about how this is fighting back against wage theft. Generally, wage theft is considered your company's not paying you enough, or your company doesn't short you on some things that you're owed. The wage theft that's being discussed now is the wage theft of paying people so little that they have to go on welfare while you pocket phenomenal and ungodly amounts of profit.
And this is
Walmart.
This stuff has a long history. It's been going on forever. I mean, there's writings as far back as like ancient China where the workers of the rice fields would catalog how they had developed a new tool that would help them harvest the rice faster. And they thought that it would give them so much more time in their day. But when they showed their leaders, the people who managed them at that time, the tool they had made, they made them work the same amount of hours, but process and clear double the amount of field.
Yes.
Like we've had this problem since that far back into now. And the most recent, and we still suffer from it to this day, is like the Rust Belt. I mean, Walmart is indicative of the problems that we face, because we went from being a manufacturer giant to all these corporations deciding that our labor value was not worth it. The quality of our work was not good enough to then ship these works either out of city centers, which caused a lot of white flight, or across the globe entirely to environments with a far poorer quality and cheaper labor market.
There it is. It's not a question of whether the labor isn't good enough. The question is, where can I get it cheaper? How can we maximize profits? Corporations don't have souls. There is too much diffusion of responsibility that they cannot move the thing in a moral manner without outsized amounts of power. Yeah. And so they don't. Their goal is to generate revenue, and they will cut anything they can in order to maximize it.
And a lot of this movement takes it out of the centers of major cities. Milwaukee was a victim of it. My hometown, South Bend, Indiana, victim of it due to the Studebaker car factory being moved out of there to Mexico and then Canada. So this has happened all across from as far as New York all the way out to Wisconsin, where this work has been taken and then it's been refilled in by a service industry, and it's all service industry, and it's spreading like wildfire to the point where, as Luke was talking, the companies that filled that void in a large scale, and we're talking like Walmart, and we're talking like McDonald's.
And with Walmart, if I can, Walmart, I think they triple dip on their employees. So first of all, they hire employees who are on welfare or on WIC specifically. They sell WIC approved food. So they're taking, so they're double dipping on that. And then they're also paying their employees so little that if they're not on WIC or welfare, WIC is the Wisconsin system, I think. If they're not on food stamps, then they do it. And I think they also get tax breaks. But
they purposefully hire in environments where they can get a tax break on the employee. They prioritize it.
Yes. And the profits are astronomical. And so the big thing here is, in capitalism, we understand I have to let you exploit my labor. I have to produce more value than I take. And I understand that to a degree. There's a great saying, you can shear a sheep many times, but skin him only once. And a lot of motherfuckers are feeling skinned and they don't appreciate that shit. If I make $60,000 and my leader of my company, for example, hypothetical leader of a company makes $1 million, which is uncommon.
Yeah.
They usually make a lot more. They're making 17 times more than I make. Can someone please explain to me how you work 17 times harder than someone to earn $1 million? Can you tell me what actions you take make you a billionaire? How do you become a billionaire, I guess, is the first question. And as far as I see it, and according to what I've understood, there's a few ways. You're born into it or you inherit it. You've not earned it. Crime. Or you create or invest in a business that has 1,000 layers of people below you who are nameless, faceless, and you never see in your boardrooms, who you pay much, much less so that you can pocket all the cash or be paid that amount by the board, which sets your prices or your wages, your salary that you have installed, golden parachutes, etc. So can you please explain to me what things you do on a day-to-day basis, get up, shit, shower, shave, brush teeth, breakfast, go to work, coffee. What do you do that generates that $1 billion? Or are you just sitting on a gigantic machine and refusing to feed the people who are actually generating that value?
If we're looking at it from a systemic point of view, okay, you have the concept of inflation being the value is being stretched much further away from being an affordable thing. So we're not getting as much as we would say in the 90s for that same dollar as we are today.
Yes.
But the thing that people forget is that the history of our country the most recent was built on the suppression of that exorbitant savings. We were suppressing the millionaires and the billionaires through our marginal tax rates.
Yes. Under Eisenhower, it was 90 to 91%.
And those people still existed in excess.
Still rich.
They were still wealthy beyond their means. And that money was able to more effectively fill the pockets of the lowest of us and fueled our infrastructure, our water systems, our ability to get to the moon. We literally got to the moon on this money, but it was reversed in the 50s. And that's around the same time as we saw a lot of these Rust Belt cities getting destroyed because the amount of money that we allowed these people to have just grew out of control. There was banking reforms. We get further into that with Reaganomics, changing how our financial systems are being able to be held accountable and how they're able to maintain their finances. This whole thing is just a compound problem that leads to the days now where we have people throwing Molotov cocktails at AI developers because we're watching the same theft happen in real time. These people aren't allowed to show us their source material. You're not allowed to show me your source program material, but they're allowed to take the entire history of human existence and put it into an entity to absorb it and amalgamate it to a thing that's now presented as their owned property that they can then profit off of.
Talking about AI, or are you just talking about everything?
AI.
AI is also something that we're going to talk about on another episode, but it is dangerous. There's a lot of talk about.
I'm going down the line. I mean, we started at manufacturing. I'm past that. We already went past supply. This is AI problem now, and we got people throwing Molotov cocktails at AI developers. We got people who are so frustrated with the way their lives. The
frustration was in the back, is in the rearview mirror.
The minimum wage has not changed since what, 2000 and like the early 2000s.
Yes. And a lot of these corporate assholes would say the real minimum wage is zero. There is this level of inequality of wealth is historically, according to Professor Scott Galloway, consider the source. If you think he's a legit source, cool. If not, double check it. I always recommend. He says that when the wealth inequality reaches the level that we're at here, in fact, we have vastly exceeded it, the only balancing actions or balancing situations that occur are war, famine, or revolution. We've got all three right now, and I don't support violence, but these gigantic corporations that are not paying their employees enough, thoughts and prayers.
The thing that we have to go back into, like, the concept of why some people would say zero should be the minimum wage. European models, they'll use as an example of places that have higher than normal wages amongst their populace, but then forget to mention that those places also have far higher levels of worker protections. They emphasize and promote their unions. They emphasize and promote the labor that people are putting in. So when you talk about those countries having no minimum wage, the minimum wage was because the government couldn't convince corporations to pay their employees better because we were so caught up in what other regions are doing. Like, and there's an argument that can be made, I'll say, where a manufacturer will pay a bottom of the level or entry level employee a certain amount of money that may be more than, say, a farmer would pay the laborer in the field, which is why we always talked about, this country was built on the back of the impoverished, the lower of our society. And right now we went from slaves. Now we're into the illegal immigrant or the undocumented immigrant
and the prisoner
and the prisoner because of the 13th Amendment. But when we talk about this shift and it happening, if we want it to happen in our country, even our state, we have to have people like Chris Taylor, who's just got elected to the Supreme Court, to repeal the Scott Walker deal where they got rid of our ability to collective bargain. Because how can the worker then exert their power in any environment when they can't use that in a way that causes our politicians to understand that their power is something to be worried about? We can't get better wages for these people. The unions are effectively struggling to survive in Wisconsin.
They've been castrated.
Yeah, they've been treated. The only ones that are the only one that's still around.
Effective too. I'll call it out like I see it.
Yeah.
If I've been in unions and I didn't get the kind of help that I really, really wanted. Mm-hmm. However, I was happy to pay my dues just as a fuck you to the Republicans, to the GOP, and the right to work assholes. Minimum wage was designed to be what's called a decent living. Yeah. So if you say minimum wage is for kids, you're wrong. If you're saying minimum wage is just for people who should have summer work or whatever, you're wrong. This is supposed to be a wage that allows you to cover your basic household bills and have money to save and spend.
If it was intended for children, then if we filled every job in America was filled, would you still feel fine with the guy giving you your burger out the window, getting $7.25 an hour, and having by McDonald's own standards need to have a second job to survive?
I actually, I've got my McDonald's bag right here on my way home or on my way here to record.
This is his home. He knows the basement is his home.
The fucking shackles, dude. No, on my way, I picked up breakfast at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. It was 2 bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddles and 4 hash browns. Yep. I gave one to his wife.
He sacrificed
so I only had 3. Yeah,
he sacrificed to the head of the household
because I'm a motherfucking democratic socialist, bitch. Anyway. You got to pay the wife tax when you cross the threshold and come and make loud noises and profanity in somebody's basement. Anyway, I digress. The woman who took my order and scanned my credit card was in her 60s. Yeah. And I thought, how sad. You should be in a garden somewhere. You should be reading. You should be enjoying your retirement. And then I got my food and I pulled forward and I was waiting because McDonald's makes you wait now. Another woman in her 60s gave me my bag. These are people who have lived enough. They should be resting. They should be enjoying themselves. They shouldn't have to work at a McDonald's in order to not die. This is an indictment on our country. How we treat our elderly, our sick, and the people in our community with disabilities speaks to who we are. It's not how many missiles we can drop on Iran. It's not about how much we can push around Greenland and how much we can tariff people and bully them. It's about how we take care of the least of us. I thought there was a Bible verse that talked about that. Must not be real.
Now, my mom works for Michael's and she makes a very low wage for the amount of work they have her doing. And I had a conversation with her not that long ago where it effectively broke down to, Michael, you have to understand, we grew up in a time where we were led to believe that we could trust the companies that we worked for to care and worry about us and take care of us. These people were fed a lie. They were fed the Downton Abbey idea of how their lives should be controlled. You have the benevolent, wealthy owner being able to dictate all these wonderful things for you. But I watched as her father, my grandfather, was robbed blind by the system in regards to how his pension was paid out, because they gave the pension initially to his wife who died of cancer and then told him he couldn't get his own pension back. I mean, the system is designed right now to trick you into believing that you can trust it.
Yes.
And this level of trust gets thrown out the window real quick when you start questioning the conditions of your work environment, or you start questioning the ulterior motives of your bosses or their care for you at all.
Yes. And nowadays, a lot of times, people my age and younger, I'm 44, they're bouncing from job to job to job because they have no loyalty. And there are some boomers, and I'm not going to pick on the boomers on this episode.
Oh, I will.
That will be an episode of its own.
You know what you did.
Because there's a lot of people, and I've had brief conversations with family members about why boomers are being blamed for things. We'll talk about it later, but a lot of boomers are saying you don't stay at the jobs you're at. Yeah, we have no loyalty to the job because the job doesn't have any loyalty to us. The idea was that I let you exploit my labor and we make a social contract that you pay me enough to live, and including when I retire, you take care of my pension. That's not happening anymore. It's being privatized. It's being cut. It's being shrinkflationed, etc.
I mean, shit. We talk about like the culture war. The culture war in the labor market is effectively that millennials are too lazy. They're not as hardworking as the older generations, and so they belittle us to limit our ability to fight back in the eyes of our own parents, and yet they
get gaslit to our face. They call us lazy.
Yeah, we're lazy. We're the most educated group of people.
Entitled.
According
to them.
We're entitled, but no, we are one of the most educated workforces that the country has ever seen in the history of this nation. And we're also the largest proportionate victims to its economic policies because we lived through so many of them. We've lived through so many freaking economic travesties and had to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. And while our parents are still sitting in their cushy positions, not understanding that their dollar value is carrying them is more and carrying them far through this.
Yes.
I got left in Wisconsin by my parents because they got money from all the stuff they did prior to this and were able to move to Florida to get away from here because they just had that money. Did I get a drop of that? Hell no.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not bitter. I kind of am. But we're in a situation though where the gaslighting is so severe that they're now starting to shift it to Gen Z. They're starting to shift it to the alpha generations who are starting to work.
Gen Alpha, we've addicted to technology so badly that they are actually damaged. But what I'm noticing is that there's a presumption that, first of all, lifting up by bootstraps, that was an English phrase that was designed as something ridiculous and unachievable. So whenever people say lift yourself up by their bootstraps or by your bootstraps, they're literally speaking out of ignorance.
Weaponized turn of phrase.
Yes. It's not even, they're weaponizing it, but they don't even know that it's wrong. It was sarcastic originally.
No. They know it's wrong. Some of the ones who originated
spell bootstraps. They don't know.
Some of them when they originally used it were using it as a satirical weaponization, and then their idiot followers
started believing it. Yes, like the word literally now doesn't mean literally anymore.
Words don't have value.
The presumption is this, and it's incorrect. It's incredibly fallacious, and it pisses me off. The presumption is this: X work equals Y profit. Not true. Not true even a little bit. If that was true, the richest people on the planet will be farmers and landscapers and construction workers and the Mexican immigrants who are picking your avocados and your almonds. Race, class, and geography or location in gaming theory are all random. So I want to create a system in a situation where it doesn't matter where I spawn, I have a proper chance. It's the same thing as in Oregon Trail. If you pick the banker, you have an easier and a leg up. You don't get to turn around and tell the farmer in the game that he's lazy because he doesn't have as much money as you. Wealth is not necessarily merit. Poverty is not necessarily laziness or a character flaw. We have a system, capitalism, that is inherently unfair because you got finite resources, and the more you build your economic gravity, the more money you can attract away from the poor and the needy. So the idea of I did it and so can you is flawed thinking from the beginning, and it is designed to keep hamsters at the wheel even though they are exhausted.
At the same time,
I was in a long relationship through marriage to a workaholic, and it was ridiculous trying to just sit and relax when someone always feels like I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And they use that and weaponize it for their profit. Resting is not profitable to people and companies.
But it
is profitable to individuals for rest, relaxation, and improved salubrious, etc.
It has gotten so severe.
It has
gotten so severe. I'm fighting on this one. It's gotten so severe that people don't realize that our brain has been worked into a position where if you sit for 5 to 10 seconds with nothing to do, you have a subconscious desire to fill the space. It is more and more difficult for people nowadays to be able to find inner peace. They've been able to monetize that, by the way, where you can't sit in a spot and be boring. We can't be boring anymore. We have to do all these things. Otherwise, we're pre-programmed to feel like we're failures, like we're not doing enough. You are sitting in a room, minding your business, doing nothing, and somebody comes in and goes, "What are you doing, you loser? You could be doing all these things." That's how bad it's gotten for us at the most basic level. And it's gone on for forever. It's going on far too long.
Yes. I got a question for the folks in the comments. What do you think? And I'll preface this by saying this. There were futurists in the 60s, I think, who predicted that because of our technology, Americans' work week would be 15 hours. Ojalá, inshallah. I'm an atheist, but God, if you are real, I would love to see that happen. What do you think, given that, is an appropriate, fair, reasonable, or healthy, ideal work week? I think it's probably 20 hours or less. Additionally, if you're not paying your employees enough to live, I don't see any other opportunity. Well, I think it's an indictment on your morality, first of all. It's an indictment on your judgment. Because I remember there was also a company where the owner of the company said, everybody in my company is going to be making base salary $75,000. Whole shitload of people quit because the janitors and the blue collar, the lower class workers or whatever were going to be getting a tremendous bonus or pay raise. A lot of people quit, and they said his business would be gone. It's more profitable than ever, or it was. Guy might have gotten into some trouble with some sexual harassment allegations.
In other areas, though, we also have co-ops.
Yes. Point being, a rising tide does not lift all ships, and we're not in the same boat. We're all in the same tide. So the yacht with the fancy schmancy engines is going to raise a lot easier than the leaky rowboat that has holes in it because you can't afford to repair it.
I'm pretty sure I read an article recently where the gentleman was saying that the billionaire class, the Epstein class, because I'm done with this pretending like they're not tied together at the hip, they are going to be, if they continue down this path of not making sure that there is a robust and efficient middle class in any of the world, because it's dying across the board, they are going to be watching the revolution happen from their yachts. They're going to be watching the fires, and they're going to have nowhere else to go because
they're bunkers.
The second they get off of that boat, it's game time. They're done for.
Agreed.
And we got to remember this, because I want to make sure that this point gets across, right? For all those people out there, we're going back to the whole concept of trying to bring back the idea that the unions, we need to bring them back to Wisconsin. We need to revitalize union membership and union power across the country. We also got to be able to recognize that there's things within our laws, state from state, that suppress things like co-ops from being successful, and that these entities that we're talking about, these Epsteinians, they're trying to weaponize their wealth to convince you that these groups becoming more powerful are not going to save you, one, or are just criminal two. Because I don't know, I've had this experience working for a company I had in the past. I'm not going to name them because I don't have anything really against this company. But when they are most of their locations are union run, but because of the Wisconsin law, they weren't required to automatically allow unions within the facility I was in. So part of our group was trying to decide if we wanted to join a local union. And because of the requirements of different zones of control, we were being
so hard.
Yeah, they make it so hard. And when we even talked about it, you were being ostracized by the work environment for talking about it, because they were hiring people who had already been burnt from the previous experience that was being caused by all this other jumping through the hoops bullshit.
They stick somebody with Stockholm syndrome in front of you to tell you how bad the union is. I think that unions are... The fact that unions are needed is an indictment on the economic system.
I would love to be back in a place.
You have to have unions. You should have people or companies that just want to pay you properly, like in Italy.
I would much rather wake up every morning and see an article about a union leader being investigated by the FBI for frauding a union than seeing a AI person trying to convince me that the Antichrist is real and that he's got a long group of scheduled dates to tell me about it. I would much rather have the old school way of dealing with corrupted or large scale Skype works, people going out onto the street and then finding out that the groups they're working for may be a little corrupt. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have like the old school, union,
crooked union bosses.
I'd rather have crooked union bosses than AI thought leaders trying to commoditize my fucking brain. All right. I'd rather have some idea of there being a power group that's going to be able to make the government help me in any way, because the corporation isn't going to do it. They are making us believe that these things are bad, and they emphasize it and they bolster it, and they don't show you the good parts. They only show you the bad, which is part of human psychology. You will remember when somebody does something bad for you the one time they do it bad for you, but you'll be hard pressed to remember all the good. And that's just part of our psychology for survival. And they weaponize that against you. They make it so you fear the idea that this group could do any good for you because that one time they did that bad thing. You got to remember when they did that bad thing, because it's going to happen to you too.
And the thing that drives me nuts is you talk about, I hate my job, I'm miserable. They say, find another job. What if they're all this bad?
Yeah.
What if they're all being paid similar rates? Because we have the information. These guys are coordinating, but they don't have to specifically document it. So a retail worker is going to be making relatively the same shitty wage around the board. Same with insurance, mechanics, and everything else. And the idea that everybody should be paid more is something that will keep billionaires safer. You should not be building your bunkers. You should be building a better world for everybody else so that we're happier with you. Mark Cuban is a billionaire, and so I got problems with him, but at least he's paying lip service to the people who have needs, and he's making people feel heard and helped. Capitalism is a predatory, no contact sport. I have to generate more than you. I have to beat you in the negotiation because I need to make more than you. And when people say get another job, stop being so lazy, or just get a second job, or people don't want to work, the only thing I can think of is you're either thoughtless about the situation or you hope to profit from it by becoming an owner. We play a lot of Magic the Gathering. We used to go to an LGS, a local game store, and I would have heated discussions with the owner where he would say, that is Elon's money. He earned it. Get your grubby hands off. However, if all you're doing is keeping the money and refusing to pay your workers, you didn't earn shit. You're a fucking thief.
He bought his way into the platforms that gave him his wealth in the first place.
And Elon in particular, but even if it's Bezos, even if it's somebody, pick your favorite billionaire, even if it's Mark Cuban, if you have someone who's scrubbing the toilets at the Maverick Arena and they're not happy with what they're being paid, you probably owe. And by probably, I mean a whole lot, because you are lucky for being in the position with the privileges that you have to have done so well, because again, X work does not equal Y wages. It's luck based, it's cooperation based, it's position based, it's life chances, it's where you were raised. I was raised by a pretty well-off family. I went to college, I went to study abroad in London, I went to Thailand when I graduated. I have a lot more privileges, a lot more legs up and lack of obstacles than somebody else. And it's important for me to recognize that as a person who is privileged, not as privileged as some, or not privileged in the same way. However, it's important for me to realize who else is struggling so that I can keep us all moving together so that we can make a positive difference, because this is not a sustainable financial situation. And it goes back to George Carlin, St. George. He mentions quite rightly, the rich pay none of the taxes, do none of the work. The middle class pay all the work, do all the work, and pay all the taxes. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class and keep them showing up to those jobs. And they call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
I would add really quickly, because we kind of hinted at it a little bit. There's another part of this too, is we are moving towards a society that looks at us more for our more of our individual labor value than our creativity, our minds in a realistic sense. I have a degree, and if I want to do work in my degree's field for geography, the work is very minimal. There's very little. But I also worked for a warehouse for like 12 years. So when I go on the job market, everyone and their mother wants me to come either drive a truck or pick an order or do all these
certified
to do all these things. But on my creativity side, the part of me that actually I wanted to foster isn't there. And that goes for how our society treats the artists in the backgrounds anyway. They treat them like they're lesser. Oh, you want to make good money, but you want to get a liberal arts degree. No, what are we talking about? Because when it comes down to being able to enjoy life, when you want to be able to enjoy what we have as humans and be able to have things that we go to see that are marvelous, or the architecture that we have all across the world, those were done by the artists. Those are done by the creatives. And when we have more time, I mean, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein because somebody paid for her to live in their house and feed her while she wrote the book. If we had a patron, we had a patron. We have a Patreon. Not that I'm saying you guys need to support.
Yeah, we have Patreon.
But she had a patron. But we don't have
had a patron. Renoir had patrons. You had rich people who paid you just to do art.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael is breaking my heart right now because I've got a Bachelor of Fine Arts and Theater Studies. I went to school for acting and theater, and I got out of it because Christians told me that maybe God wanted me to pick up my cross and die to myself and get a job to provide for my wife and my family. I've been taking a little bit of time off of work, and I haven't been more creative in decades, and I feel a little bit
doing
guilty.
This now because of it.
I feel guilty. I think that we are creators. We were not designed as laborers. And if you are dying inside at a job that you hate, or at a job that you are not making enough, I hear you, I feel you, I know how you suffer, and we need to join together and push it. Because people talk about these great left-wing influences. Bernie Sanders is probably the one that I agree with the most. People talked about Obama. Nobody's talking about UBI, Universal Basic Income, except for Andrew Yang, who couldn't win a foot race against a stone behind him. And nobody's really talking about Medicare for all. Obamacare was a Republican idea. And so these are the things that would really, really change lives for the better. A shorter work week. And I'm not talking about 4 days, but you're working 40 hours still. I'm talking about 20 fucking hours. And if corporations earn less, they earn less. Tough shit. Thoughts and prayers, cocksucker.
Well, no, it also comes down to they weaponize the time. People will be at a workplace that only requires them to be there for maybe 5 hours of the day to do the realistic amount of work, but the company wants them to stay the extra 5 for that 10-hour shift or the 2 for the 7. And there's been evidence across the board, and I can bring it up in post, but evidence that having a shorter work week provides a higher level of overall productivity by the individual laborer, because you're not dragging them through the mud to try to fill that quota. If you actually properly, spaced out your labor between individuals, you'd be able to have a more productive work environment. But because these things aren't as well known, I mean, it was what originally led us to having a 40-hour work week in the first place. When we had our first ability as workers to name our terms, because they would have worked us into through slavery again.
They wanted us to work longer. 40 hours was the idea that 9 to 5 was supposed to be all day. You work from sun up to sundown with 1 hour of transit time each way. This is serf thinking. This is a serf system. Schools are pumping people full of directions so that they can be good soldiers and good factory workers. Now we need good thinkers, and thinkers need breathing room.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but continual growth to satiate the unsatisfiable greed and lust for profits by shareholders
who provide no value, by the way.
It's not sustainable, and you're killing people. You are literally killing people. I know people take early exits for a lot of reasons, and finances are a lot of them. So I encourage you to think about these things. Think about what you want out of your life, why another company deserves the things that they're taking from you just because they say that this is how it is. And then I want you to think about this. Explain to me I want you to read the definition of socialism. I want you to tell me why socialism is bad. Why democratic socialism is bad. Why is universal basic income bad? If the rich assholes are paying more in taxes so that you get $1,500 or $2,000 a month, why is that bad? Your $2,000 a month is $24,000. It's below the poverty line. Nobody is going to get rich doing that. And if people team up and have the money and share it, so what? So what? Why is Medicare for all bad? Because some people in Canada may wait for some lines. I'm waiting in line now. I haven't been able to see my specialist for weeks and weeks because my insurance is out of I'm out of sessions.
If any veteran can tell you that the VA provides healthcare, the demonization of it, I feel like, is unwarranted. There's a lot of hard workers in there. We lost one with Alex Preddy, but the hard workers that are in these fields that want to do good for the people they consider their heroes. And it's the bureaucratic, red tape that causes a lot of problems that make these headaches, that when people come to an example of the government could never run a unified healthcare system, but they do with the VA all the time. And
they also do it in 30 of the top 31 top countries in the entire world.
Our government,
this kind of system.
Our government runs one of the best universal healthcare systems in the world, and it's in Israel right now.
Oh, yes. So they have universal healthcare in Israel, and they are the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid in the entire world. And I'm sorry, but I'll be goddamned if we're going to buy it for somebody else and not get it for me. That's fucked all the way up. If you get pregnant in Israel, you get a check. You get a pregnancy subsidy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, black women are dying in ORs because they're not getting the proper treatment at all.
Because the doctors are led to believe that they have a biological pain tolerance, that they should be treated differently.
Well, getting the prenatal care, the neonatal care. Black women watching this, any woman watching this, if you could get $2,000 or a check when you get pregnant, would that be something that would assist you in your time of pregnancy? I highly think so.
Weird that we bring this up though, because the Republican, legislature, along with all these changes, like with Roe v. Wade being overturned, they're pushing for us to have more kids at the lower level of our economic standards. So the wealthy can still get their abortions. They're not going to stop getting those abortions, but the trailer park and the impoverished and the ghettos, they're all going to be forced to have to sit and with the decision of, do I have sex or do I have a baby? Or can I afford a condom, or can I get contraceptive? Can I get plan B? All these unnecessary decisions, which don't need to be freaking made. They don't need to be made at all.
Poor.
They keep you poor. Keep you poor and keep you available livestock so that they can make a profit off of your back at whatever shit job they find you in. Yes. It's all part of a long arcing system. And I just want to express this because I feel like this is a good point for popping off here, is that I feel like we as people understand that we're creative by nature. We all want to do things that give us passion, give us the thrill of life.
Joie de vivre, babe.
You want to create. You want to see other people's reactions to the things you create. Think of a child bringing you a piece of scribbled art that they made in a room while you were busy doing something else. It brings you joy in seeing it. And I feel like personally, we have to support our fellow workers. We have to support each other as individuals. Don't treat the server like shit. You have to understand, if you were in their shoes, back to existentialism, that you would hope they would treat you with the same level of mercy and kindness as you should be showing them. And understand, in the great scope of all of this, that when we treat these people better, we get more creative people in the outcome. And those more creative people are able to provide us the viewpoint of the world that we wish we could see. They brighten, they make the colors better. They make us see the world in a better way. And when we make that the priority, where the worker gets paid enough to be able to help build up the creative, when we have people who don't have to worry about starving, they can put that energy into other things. Our world will be better for it. And it won't even impact at the bottom line.
It would save us
any of those people. Any of those wealthy people wouldn't be impacted at all. So I don't know.
They'd be impacted. They would be slightly less rich.
But yeah,
which means
the livable amount for a millionaire.
Which means Bezos would have a yacht that's actually small enough to go through the canal that it was built in. And they wouldn't have multiple houses.
Downey's taxes would affect them in such a small amount that some of them wouldn't even see it on their bottom line.
Yes. Hold on. Let's mention and explain the Mamdani taxes. This is a pied-à-terre tax, which is basically a tax on wealthy second and third homes in New York that people aren't living in. They're just there because they want a hotel room, basically, that they own. In a penthouse in Manhattan. And so he's taxing these things, and they're going to use it to benefit the city, benefit the actual people who live there.
And hopefully de-incentivize people from maintaining these vacation properties just so they have an address in New York, so that facility or whatever the location is could be better used for people who are actually within the city and bring down the cost of living.
Yes. And so mayors who are listening, or people who have mayors, you got some work to do. You guys are going to have to really explain why not here. Why can we not do that here? Why can we not raise taxes on the super wealthy to pay for things that are needed here? You cannot fail to weed, water, and fertilize parts of your garden and then be pissed off when they're not productive and fruitful. You have to invest in those areas instead of oversaturating and overfeeding the flourishing parts of your garden. You're a shitty gardener.
I can remember, and this goes back to, we're in a situation where we're advocating for there to be a tax levy that benefits this housing issue. The only entity to do it is the government, sadly. And when we are told to not utilize that power effectively, it leads to a very bad level of bad outcomes. And I don't want to be in a situation where I have to force a property owner to put a tenant in their property at the lowest available rate because of their greed. I rather they be there because it's the right thing to do and that person's willing to do it.
And I don't have an issue, well, by and large with individual landlords, but these gigantic companies and hedge funds that are buying houses get fucked. You guys are creating
Redfin, Zillow, BlackRock,
you are creating a class of renters that will never be able to own, never partake in the American dream.
Yeah.
And you're doing it because you guys collectively don't have consciences because you can disperse it. If you had a chimpanzee troop that you were studying and one of those chimps was hoarding 90% of the resources while other members of its troop were dying and starving, you would take away that chimp and you would put it in a lab and study it to find out what the fuck was wrong with it. If you do that as a human, you're called a job creator.
You're on Forbes.
Yes, you're on Forbes, you get yachts, you get all the privileges, and people call you Mr. Musk. And you get to be high off your ass on...
Or Bezos.
Yep.
Or...
So, again, this is about people. And if you're going to create a Marie Antoinette situation, you're going to get a Marie Antoinette response. I don't want violence. But if you are stealing from people to the point where they can't live, you have declared war on them.
The only thing saving them right now is their monopoly on violence. And I'll express this, that if anybody want to look into the quick history of our police forces, know that one of the first police forces that was ever formed was in Boston, Massachusetts. And it was formed because via the city because the harbor owners didn't want to have to keep paying private security to protect their goods. They convinced the city to do it for them. So they got no problem weaponizing their monopoly on violence against us if we go and do what this gentleman did at the Kimberly-Clark facility. But know that it's not going to stop us because a lot of those people are going to view themselves as martyrs in the greater cause to stop this exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was saying earlier, I say personally, we as a group, people who know what morally is the right thing to do when it comes to treatment of our workers and want to advocate for those people, you do that. You go out there, you support them, support your local unions, support your local co-ops, and do what you can to lift those people up. And more importantly, in my opinion as well, cultivate and lift up anyone you think, us included, I would say, if you feel like we're worthy of it, the artists, the people who want to create, the people who want to put their face in front of their product and be willing to stand by what they're willing to produce, because they're trying to kill this. They're trying to kill us, our free conversations. They're trying to kill our ability to exist and be out here and try to lift up. And I'm saying that for artists. My mom's an artist. My oldest daughter is an artist. And I want to see a world where their work is promoted and they're able to see the world through that lens instead of seeing it through the black, gray, and white that we're looking at it through now when it comes to our treatment as objects within the corporate cog,
Late stage capitalism.
Yeah, late stage capitalism. We're there.
And they said it in Rents. The opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation.
Yeah.
War destroys, creation, it creates. It makes shit. Yeah. So get out there, make stuff, have conversations. We'll talk to you in the comments. And Mike?
On behalf of myself and Luke, I just want to let you guys know that we're pulling for you and we're all in this together. All right. I'm smiling.
Yeah. Where was it?